So, good morning, everybody. So happy to be here, seeing all of you. But I have to say, even more happy that I have you here on stage with me. You means Pascal Morand,
Hello.
Executive President of Fédération de la Haute Couture et de la Mode. On the other side, you are an economist. You are a member of certain universities. This is the one side of you. And the other side, passionate musician, just starting a second career again, really interested in philosophy. And then there is with me Carlo Capasa, president of Camera Nazionale della Moda Italiana. Since 2015, you are in charge since 9 years, right now. We have an old history together. Because I was the visitor of fashion weeks in, of course, Milan and Paris. And I, as everybody knows, share the passion for fashion. That's why I love conversations with young talents and established designers, but also the conversations with Carlo and Pascal. Because Carlo also had a life before being the president. Carlo was at companies like Romeo Gili, like Gucci, your own company with your brother, Costume National, and all the time in the time when they were most influential. So in this sense of fashion. So there's on the one side the business, maybe in all of us, if I can say from my side, but on the other side the big, big passion for fashion, which is so important. And then there's Scott Lipinski. Scott is our CEO. Our means Fashion Council Germany's CEO. And he is with us since nearly a decade. And I would say it's a dedication that you have with Fashion Council Germany. So Scott is my alter ego, my sparring partner, and yeah, the one when I don't get my things together, he will get it together. So.
Yeah. Later.
So, a huge thank you that you're here with me. Carlo and Pascal, each of your fashion city play a unique role in the global fashion landscape. Could you briefly share what defines your city's identity within the fashion ecosystem?
Who starts?
You start.
Okay. First, I'm very glad to be here, and I thank you very much, Christiane. And I will answer the question, yeah. And Scott, very glad. And also because I love Berlin. And in my long career, I've been in particular the dean of business school, the European Business School, which is ESCP Business School. And I'm an emeritus professor, and we do have a campus in Charlottenburg, near Schlosspark, where I go often. And I spent many long time. I was just having a great time there, and in Prenzlauer Berg, and in Kreuzberg, and other places with friends and colleagues. So it's always such a great pleasure to be here.
So maybe then when I step down, you can come to Berlin.
Well, but yeah, and then you come to Paris, we make an exchange. We work very well. It's another thing that we can say about that what you initiated and what we are part of together. But to answer your questions, I think what characterizes Paris is, let's say, double aspects. There are like big brands and established brands on one side, and groups, of course. And on the other side, an active. We can get back to that, a cultural life, and the link between this economic power, like in fashion and luxury, and the cultural life is a key factor. And then there is, of course, like there is an identity, the identity of Berlin and of other cities, and in Paris there is this, archetype of city of light, but which still, which means something, as it appeared with the Olympics. So this flavor of creativity And it's particularly strong, it seems to me, and not only to me at this moment. So, and this strong link. So that's in a nutshell what I can say, summarize also with the creative community and the young. I see many young faces here.
Thank you. Carlo.
First of all, as Pascal said, I'm very happy to be in Berlin. It's a fantastic city and full of energy. We arrived yesterday night. It was so beautiful and so many people, nice people, fashion people. We love that. Milan is a city of the fashion and design, where we take a lot of care to this beauty of a project. So it's a very, I would say, city where you merge very much the fashion and design. In fact, Fashion Week and Design Week, they're very strong. At the same time, it's a city where the industry and the creativity, they merge very much together. It's the industry where the designer, they start in Italy working with the industry. So we are very much concentrate on making also product, on making the factory working. Is a representation of the unique system, Italian system of production, that it's happened by district. Every district in Italy is taking care of some product, like the silk district in Como, the men's shoe district in Ancona, the women's shoe district close to Venice, So everywhere in Italy, we have those districts where small company and big company, they cooperate. And this is reflected also in Milano, this idea of putting together the small and the big and the cooperation. Milan is also the city of individuality. So you see, for example, compared to Paris, where there are the big groups, in Milan there are single brands. Even the big brands are single, because Italian, they are quite individualist. So I must say that one of the point for me was to put them together and to create a bridge between all the brands, because obviously you need to create a system where everybody is cooperating, but it's not always easy in fashion. Milan is also the city where we have a strong commercial side. You have to think in Milan we have 800 showrooms representing 3,000 brands. And those showrooms, very often, they have the people, the owner of those showrooms, Italian guys, they have showrooms in Paris, in New York, in London, everywhere, because they are very active on the selling of the product. So this merger of those aspects, industrial aspect, commercial aspect, and design aspect together makes, I would say, the definition of this city.
Carlo, in your view, what role does fashion play in reflecting or shaping a region's cultural identity?
Well, fashion is the best ambassador, in my opinion, of anything, of a country, of a city. And in fact, if you think to Italy, I refer to Italy, but it's worse for every city or every country. When you think to Armani, Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci, they represent very much the best value of the city, of the country. And the best value, they are creativity, efficiency, sustainability. So once you have all concentrate in a brand, it's much easier for the people to understand the positive value of the city. And this is what only fashion can do. You know, there was a research in the United States that said that people that buy fashion, they believe that fashion can do more for social issue than a government. 65% of the people, they think a fashion can do more than a government in a social issue. And this gives to fashion strong responsibility. So we are responsible also to give a positive message for the new generation. And this makes something quite unique for fashion. And you are the ambassador, the positive ambassador, and also the shaper for the new generation. You are an education rule. And all this is concentrated in a brand. And a brand represents also a lifestyle. And the lifestyles influence the whole world. So you bring, if you take some nice designer or some nice fashion week from Berlin, you show the lifestyle of Berlin. The same is happening in Milan, the same is happening in Paris. So I think the power of fashion is very, very strong in terms of communication of values.
I remember the discussion when we were all locked up in COVID, and then there were certain voices. They said, "Yeah, next time we should just invite everybody in a cinema and then watch the shows, and we don't have to travel anymore." Da da da. But when I saw quite a few fashion shows, and it's exactly what you said. It's not just watching fashion; it's just like it's communication. It's the food, it's the people, it's the street, it's the traffic. It's everything that you take with you in your little bag when you leave the cities. And that's why I think it's so important to have this physical fashion shows. It's an emotional experience. And I think next to music and maybe sports, but fashion is a communication tool that is so powerful. I totally agree.
If I may add something, you have to think that is an international language. Music, fashion, and mathematics, they're the three international languages. You don't need to, yeah, we can talk together without words. And this is a strong power of fashion, because fashion you can communicate to anybody in any side of the world. You don't need to translate, you only need to watch and to feel. What you said is very right. When we did during the COVID, we had the time of everything in fashion was on digital, and everybody said, "Wow, now we have digital fashion. We don't need to travel anymore. We don't need." And it was wrong, because as soon as the pandemic stopped, everybody started to travel again. Why? Because by watching the image in a flat digital way, you missed the ambient. You miss where you go. You arrive to the place. Wow, how is the place decorated? What is the feeling? And the people beside you, what you talk about the show, and you comment the show, and all that. The human side of fashion is very important, as much as fashion. This is why fashion is a global art, and we don't have to forget it is a cultural industry, and culture needs involvement of the people.
So right. So Scott, maybe you can explain a bit what we're doing here in Berlin. So why it's so important to foster young talents, fostering a sense of community within the fashion industry. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me.
Happy to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. What we try and do in Berlin is create stages and bring communities together. And it's not just the communities of designers, it's much more than that. I mean, you mentioned it in your opening speech, you mentioned it just a few minutes ago. It's also this community. And when I look into the audience, I see so many friends of the industry who come together and discuss topics of the future, discuss new trends. I know we don't like the word, but in this couple of days we do talk about them. But the most important thing is that these communities find their home during fashion weeks. We as Fashion Council Germany don't just do our work during fashion weeks. We always try and go the step further in all of our programs. If it's taking designers, young talents, or even established talents abroad, we have programs. We're going to South Korea, we go to New York, always trying to combine communities with each other, extending existing communities, and just opening up. That's what Fashion Council Germany does, and that's what this Fashion Week is about. And I've heard so many times that especially these kind of talks are one of these platforms where communities can exchange and share and gain new knowledge. That's what it's about. But Christiane, we're also here to pick your brain. As I mentioned just there, that in your opening speech yesterday, you did mention that you are privileged, that you have met so many talents over the years. From your point of view, how has the definition of fashion community evolved with the rise of the digital platforms, social media, and all that new trends?
Oh, it's, I have a long answer, so hopefully I can shorten it. When I started, which is like, I don't know, 40 years ago, visiting fashion capitals like Paris and Milan, it was a time there was no mobile phone, so no camera, nothing. We had little books and made our descriptions, and it was the only time you met the international fashion community. I was in studios, but there were other people. It was another community. So to meet like Pascal or meet Carlo was only this 2 times, or maybe Paris because I did haute couture as well. And that was the international fashion community. And oftentimes, of course, there were the superstars of designers, but and they had their labels in their jackets, and that's why everybody worldwide knew them. But they were not communicating with the customer, sometimes maybe when trade shows started. And today, you know all the faces of all the influential designers, all the designers that you love or you fall in love with. You follow them, you see what they do. And it's so different. And it's a huge opportunity for young talents as well to create their own community. We have a brand here in Berlin, really, and there's a question all the time, are the brands successful in Berlin? Yes, they are successful. If you look at Namilia, for example, there's a couple of Nan and Emilia. They formed Namilia, and they did 3 fashion shows in New York before COVID. They formed a community already. They're strong in communication, online communication, digital communication. And then COVID, and they decided to come back to Berlin. Then we started our program, Berlin Contemporary, and they were part of it because they had an interesting concept. The community is growing so much because it's a perfect match to do what they do. Talk especially to this huge queer community worldwide. They have a voice, and for everybody who's part of this community, everybody's proud. And that's why they love to show here, because people come and see themselves, but they communicate every day. And I think that is the big difference. And it's the big opportunity also for young talents to find their own community.
That's a good point, because I mean, from your point of view, how can small designers, young designers, or maybe even local communities be better integrated into this global network, into the global reach and an ecosystem of fashion?
I think there is only the global in the word social media, but then everybody can connect with everybody. So it is just to find your own voice. And I think that, you know, when like the big online retailers, they started, everybody thought, oh, wow, I can sit in my little village somewhere and I can order an outfit from da-da-da. And how lucky were we at that time? Because I grew up where there was nothing, not even a pair of jeans. So there was just nothing. And that changed totally. But now you're overwhelmed with the offers. And you don't want to look at, I don't know, 150,000 pieces. And I think that is the challenge. And it's a challenge, but it's also the opportunity for young talents. Everybody is so educated right now when it comes to fashion. And there's a huge demand for new talents. You told me about Pitti Filati as well. Sorry. I think there is a really, it seems like there is a need for something new. Everybody is looking for something new, and that is the big opportunity for young talents. But we have to also create stages to form kind of a community. Did it answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Pascal, How do you envision the role of fashion in society in 10 years from now?
Well, we are in a period of like big changes. Concerning fashion itself, we see that there is a crisis of the business models with the difficulties of the wholesale market, with the difficulties which can look paradoxical, but with the difficulties of the pure players, who are mainly based in London, like Farfetch and others. And My Teresa is an exception in this landscape. And we know that there is this, like the ecological revolution and the digital revolution. So, concerning the first aspects, fashion is very often and legitimately accused and considered as an enemy of the green economy and society. But there is a lot of confusion in this thing, this debate, because the problem, the natural problem in that field is the volumes. So when you have like 130 billion pieces produced every year, you can multiply by the impact of each impact. It doesn't mean that the brands and the creative brands are not very active and must be very much engaged, like many young generations are, which is fine. But that means that creative fashion, and that we do also all together with the European Fashion Alliance that you, Christiane and Scott, initiated and that we are part of. Very happy, and also with other friends, Elke and Anne, and that's a strong network. She's not over here, right? So that means that we have to take care of what's going on, and in that way too, it's political, because at this moment the question is to know what will happen with mass consumption, and mass consumption enables also many people to buy clothes and to buy other fashion objects, and we can see all things which are starting now, and in a few years, which really keep on going. There is like a spillover effect with the scale of prices when you can, through like the ultra discount fashion, buy a dress at €5 with Shein or Temu, and there will be others, not only from China. Then it changes the scale, and it even pushes the traditional fast fashion brands of H&M and Zara to go towards more quality and more creativity somehow too. So the point is the creative fashion and creative designers have not only to breathe, but to be very strong, and especially because we are in this era with functionalism, saying okay, we do things which are necessary and so on, and precisely the strength of fashion is to do things which are not which are unnecessary. And this is because it's unnecessary that it is deep, because then you have the freedom and tolerance. And I like this line by Lily Reich, saying that clothes, but it can be once again accessories, other objects. But clothes can be and must form an inseparable whole with the women, but you can see with the men wearing them. So that is one thing. And another thing, also, I say ecological, another digital thing, as you and also yours, Carlo mentioned, the digital revolution changes many things, but at the same time, as we saw in the fashion weeks, then the balance, there is, and the empathy and the notion, the technical, the sensory perception is getting more important if it can breathe, and if the fashion power is strong and remains strong. And for sure, things we keep on moving, in the sense that, as you mentioned, like embodiment will be very important, but with new business models arriving also, with this and the notion of community being even more important. And of course, now everybody talks about AI, like everybody talked about metaverse some years ago, and etc. It's now trends, but this is a strong thing. And this is why the human factor is very important. Because when you have fashion weeks, when you have people just meeting, it's real people who can use AI as a tool, and for sure this will develop. But it's for this to be to just to correspond to our wishes, to our wishes, to our understanding of the differences of the diverse world in which we are, like we see in the non-golden exhibition now. So all this is with the creative people and creativity. This is very much the core. And just to finish with something a little bit like classical, but it's the core of the humanistic and European core values, which gathers us all. So this is fashion, is creativity. It's also an expression of oneself and communication and freedom.
But Scott, maybe you can explain a bit what we do when it comes to the European Fashion Alliance, because their creativity is kind of the heart of the association. Huh?
Yeah. Well, it started a few years ago. I see again Elke over there, part of the board of the European Fashion Alliance, where we felt, or a certain group of people, of organizations felt, that the creative side of the industry isn't being represented enough in Brussels. There are brilliant organizations really focusing on the textile part of legislation, but the creatives simply weren't heard. There was no space for them in Brussels. So what we all did, the founding mothers and fathers of the European Fashion Alliance, is they said, okay, let's join forces. Let's join this, or let's create this new organization, and that means it's almost all fashion councils of Europe, all European fashion weeks. We have research institutes, we have non-profit organizations in the European Fashion Alliance, and we're close to Brussels. We are, I would also say, we're the strongest voice when it comes to the creative fashion industry. We open doors for the creative industry in Brussels. So we had round tables, we had conferences in Brussels where politicians actually listen. What are the needs of the creative industry? We comment upcoming legislation. I mean, it was a topic of the holistic approach of durability, for example, which wasn't considered in the first drafts of ESPR, but then thanks to wonderful colleagues in the European Fashion Alliance and the ambition of the European Fashion Alliance, it is being taken into more consideration. And that's just one topic. We've just started. Pascal, Carlo, and myself and Elke, we're in the board of the European Fashion Alliance representing our organizations. So for me, it's Fashion Council Germany. And I think there's still lots to do, especially now with the new terms. In Brussels, we have many, many doors to knock on to open, and to have those conversations coming ahead of us. But I think we're all full of energy to take that as our new mission.
If I just, one word, but I forgot, brief word, in the future, but linked to what Scott said, the notion of innovation, global, of course, I didn't mention it because it's natural, but to give an example linked to what we do together, innovation in textile, in fabrics are very important. And Europe has a strong power, like in fabrics and creativity and innovation, especially Italy. But we all have, especially Italy. And let's say globally we work with each other on that, but I'm sure that for you and for the young generation being here, the fact of innovating, having more like ecological fabric is fundamentally important. So we praise natural fibers, but also innovation. But then there are two aspects in innovation. One thing is the scaling up, because even if the volume is not so high, there is a question of price and scaling up. And just to give you one small example, and this gave me the idea, what Scott said, there is this regulation in which we work. We are now part of the forum as European Fashion Alliance to be, not many organizations have been selected, just to avoid like spoiling and things. That's been decided in this regulation to say, okay, you can make upcycling, but you cannot make any recycling And it's impossible even just not only just to have to recycle, not only to destroy, but it is forbidden to recycle, which is a nonsense. We have no time to develop. But then we have to explain all this, and to do that, to be very coherent with the innovation policy and the wish also of all the generations, especially young generation, to say we have to solve that and to work, because this means circular economy. So we have this contradiction that we work on all together, and to have political power in that field.
And sorry, Pascal, and durability.
And durability.
You have to think that at the moment in Europe, they judge durability by a piece of fabric. So they take a piece of fabric, they stress it. If it's durable, they say, okay, this is good, and another one destroys it, not durable. Unfortunately, the fabric that they stress sometimes is a synthetic fabric used for football shirt, and the fabric is durable, is synthetic, will stay there forever actually, and this is also bad. But the T-shirt will be destroyed in 6 months. The landfill will be full of those T-shirts. On opposite, a lace dress of Valentino will stay 1 minute at the stress test, but we stay in the wardrobe for 3 generations. So we went there and said, listen, if we have to push creativity, we have to count durability by the life of the garment, not by the piece of fabric. And this is another strange effect of the European law that we are trying to fight, to promote creativity. But we have to say a word about this creativity and new generation fast fashion. It's absurd that one shirt costs €5 when you wash it, and a laundry costs €5 to wash it. But it's also absurd that fast fashion is copying young generation designers, that they cannot sue them, and not big brands, and making profit out of ideas of new designers. So I said, for example, to the fast fashion people, first you have to change your system in terms of the old fast system cannot be so fast. You cannot take an idea and copy in 3 weeks. Second, you cannot copy in 3 weeks and then try in 10 stores. If it doesn't work, throwing away and making going all these garments probably in Africa and killing also the African textile system or in a landfill. Third, you have to use the new designer creativity, paying the new designers. Because the concurrence of the new designer today is fast fashion. It's not a big brand. The your generation is buying fast fashion, not big brands. And when I was young, we started our brand with my brother, Costume National. Our generation was buying our clothes. Today, the generation of the new designers buying fast fashion, this doesn't work. So we have to really make a call to push new generation to buy new designer and to push fast fashion to be respectful of creativity, be respectful of new designers, and change the fast system for something more real and human. This is, I think, we have to do all together. It's a cultural movement.
If I can add one thing or one comment, because it was quite symbolic when Anne asked in the audience who's already informed or working with DPP, the Digital Product Passport. EFA released a report which was mainly targeted towards the European Commission about the status of the European fashion in terms of the readiness of everything that was coming ahead. And there it was quite clear that they're not ready. And we're not ready. The industry simply is not ready yet. It needs much more resources to actually face the future that's coming towards us. And I can just tell everyone, download the report, read it, spread the news, and support the actions of the European Fashion Alliance.
Time is nearly over, but we can extend a couple of minutes on, you said, right? Okay, couple of, yeah. Because talking about technology, I think, and I'm a strong believer in craftsmanship. So how can the industry ensure the preservation of craftsmanship and artisanal skills while embracing technology? Carlo, you talk about that quite often, but you too.
Yeah, it's a big issue because more and more people, they don't want to be artisan because we don't tell well the story of the artisan. The artisan is sometimes, very often, a real artist. And it's a beautiful, beautiful work to be an artisan. But the communication about artisan is not so nice. So people, they think, wow, it's a bad job. In truth, this happened many years ago with the cook, with cooking. So 10 years, 15 years ago, if a guy after graduating, going to university, went to the parents and say, I want to be a chef, he would have said, are you crazy? You studied, you go and work in a finance business, whatever. And today, if you go to the same father and say, I want to be a chef, say, wow, fantastic. I help you to open a nice restaurant. You will be a top super chef. So what has been changing? The communication about being a chef. So we have to work first to communicate what does it mean to be an artisan. Second, we have to protect this category very much. And this is something that must be done by the politics. We have to help them to pay them more because they are not well paid at the moment, especially a young person start to be an artisan must be paid as a good worker, as almost an artist, so must be paid much more from the beginning, and so must be more attractive. And we have to use all our labor force to push people. Today there is a lot of movement in the countries. We say, wow, we have too many people arriving in Italy, too many people from Africa. This is a value, first of all, because it's a value of cultural value. And second of all, because there's so many people passionate of doing some creative job, and we have to teach them how to do it and make them real active part of our community. But the politics must do a lot about this and about the respect to the artisan. We have to think that without a small artisan, all the big creation would not exist. So is a clue, is the heart of our business. We have to do different, so communication, political issue, preserve it with initiative, and paying them more. This is what we have to do, in my opinion.
Yeah, what I can add is that first, the more the digital goes, the more as I said, the need to compensate with the sensory experience from the people, just the clients, and also through the industry by itself. There is another technological factor, which is that it's much more difficult for robotics to build a clothes than to build a plane, because with robotics you can reproduce the movement of the arm, but not of the finger. There are some efforts, there are some progress, in particular in China and in the US. But let's say it's on flexible materials, you cannot do that, and even whether it's perfect or not perfect. So, as Carlo said, the notion of there is also this sign of being more into and doing things, and this return to craftsmanship, even coming from people who are who have a strong education in universities, and then they want to get back to that. But this has to be encouraged. There must be a policy to do that.
I think
sorry, Christiane, I want to add a little things that we are trying to do in Italy, and at the moment it did not work, but we are trying to do in Italy. We have all those, as I said, areas where there are small artisan working in those districts we call in Italy, those different districts I've been talking before. And the artisan today or the future must be also digital, because it must be connected with the big company, it must be interconnected with the other artisan, and it cannot afford to be digital because the digitalization is too expensive for an artisan. So in Europe we do so many things, and in Italy we should do a project, and we propose this project to digitalize the district. So create a digital system where all the artisans of the district can apply with the cloud system, and they can have an advanced digital system to connect each other, to connect with the company, and to work as an artisan on a side with the hand, but digitally for all the other stories that they need to be digital. Even when you send a pattern from a company to another, well, you need the digital organization. So this could be an initiative to make the artisan of the future more efficient.
Yeah, one thing, when Carlo and I and Scott start to speak, well, there's quite a number of things to say, so we can take a few hours. Okay?
Yeah.
Just one thing is that, we see now...
I see Anne already coming
Yeah.
towards our
the importance of haute couture used to be like passé, old stuff. No, it's very much back again. And it's very much part of this notion of the back to craft notion. So not everybody can make haute couture, but couture as an horizon is something also with new business models. And one thing we did is for education. We merged like 2 schools with around IFM, and the 3 aspects are management and design and craftsmanship and savoir-faire. So everything is the same direction to value that a lot.
And I think that is the end, and I promise. I think that is when we saw the pictures of the last Valentino show. Alessandro Michele did his first haute couture show, and there were these beautiful gowns, and you could tell that it was just craft in perfection. And then I just saw that Amica Italia, they posted pictures from the 80s where you had a dress that was the reference for the dress that Alessandro just did. And it's the same craft, and that is protecting.
Yeah.
And that is protection. And I think that the craftsmen, most of the time, the small little ateliers, they have no spotlight. They are anonymous. We talk about the art. We talk about the beautiful dress, but we never talk about the people who do the beautiful dress. And I think that is something that is PR, as you said as well. It's marketing. The chefs have the restaurants. That's why we go there. We love them, but we don't know the craftsmen and the artisanals that are so brilliant in what they do. So, and that's why haute couture is so important as well, and to protect that, because.
And that's why the creative community linked to craftsmanship, the creative arts, have such an important role to play, and this is we talk about the Fashion Week, and this is why it's you have the power now. But what's important with fashion communities and creative communities is to understand that there are balances of power, and it must be even like a political movement, not right or left, not the point, but strong. So it's the young generation go ahead and be strong. And I will not say fight. No, I will not say that. But just
but
do it. Yes.
Thank you very much.